Pull up a seat because Stephen A. Smith just unleashed a bombshell that's got everyone in the league scrambling and totally changes everything about where women's basketball is headed. The tension was building behind closed doors. Everyone knew teams were divided internally, but no one expected the players' union to detonate their own explosive this soon, believing they're holding all the cards against team owners. But here's the unexpected twist. There's something everyone's whispering about privately but won't dare say publicly. Smith isn't simply criticizing the league for being money-hungry or picking the wrong moment. He's essentially verifying that Caitlin Clark has already made her power move. There was no big announcement and no trending online statement. Just pay attention to what's happening. Clark has silently walked away from the madness, and the consequences will be devastating for those who believed they could push around the Golden Girl and still collect their checks. Let's break down the disaster because this triggered the entire explosion. The union officially destroyed their labor deal 2 full years before it was supposed to end. In other words, they ripped up their agreement. They noticed the sold-out arenas, the luxury travel finally arriving and the viewership numbers breaking records constantly, and figured now's the moment to demand significantly more money. They're after their portion of success, and they're not waiting around. On the surface, it makes sense since the business is growing like crazy. But Stephen A. reveals the one critical flaw in their strategy. They're requesting enormous payouts from a business that's only been making profit for a hot second. And they're pulling this stunt while actively attacking the person bringing in all the attention. They're risking everything that fans will stick around regardless of how they handle the main draw. And that's a risk that might destroy everything. While the union was loudly protesting about money and justice, Caitlin Clark executed a statement that rang out stronger than any demonstration or heated message. She rejected the unrivaled league completely. For those unfamiliar, Unrivaled is the exciting new 3-on-3 competition created by Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, the same veterans who've competed against Clark and arguably contributed to the chilly reception she experienced throughout the season. They came to her with serious money, supposedly proposing over $1 million for several weeks of participation, including ownership stakes and celebrity treatment. They assumed she'd jump at the opportunity because traditionally, professional players must hustle all year just to survive financially, but Clark declined. Stephen A. interprets this as her subtle exit. She ignored their competition, their offer, and their entire world. She picked relaxation, physical healing, and mental wellness instead of lending them her star power. It's an understated boss move that communicates, "I'm fine, but clearly, you desperately required me." Smith absolutely demolished the situation with brutal truth the league's leadership despises. He's labeling it the biggest mistake ever. The veterans and union are demanding fairness and equal treatment, which sounds reasonable theoretically. But you can't request a piece of the Caitlin Clark money machine while simultaneously allowing players to target her physically and downplay her contributions publicly. We witnessed the aggressive plays, the hostile attitudes, the Olympic exclusion, and the non-stop criticism all year. Stephen argues that jealousy is preventing them from seeing the business facts. They're attempting to extract valuable rewards from their prize asset while simultaneously trying to eliminate that asset. It's completely contradictory. By ending negotiations now, they're assuming Clark will simply endure the mistreatment indefinitely, financing their paychecks while they act like she doesn't belong. Let's examine the financial reality because facts don't mislead, even when personal feelings do. The typical player desperately needs this salary increase to avoid traveling internationally to compete in questionable environments. Caitlin Clark doesn't face that problem. She secured a Nike contract allegedly worth almost $30 million alongside huge payments from Gatorade, State Farm, Wilson, and more. Her league earnings are essentially pocket change. It represents under 1% of her yearly revenue. Stephen A. Smith hammered this reality home forcefully. Clark exists as the only person who could walk away tomorrow morning and stay financially set forever. At the same time, the union is unraveling, pounding their demands as if they're running everything. The truth is, the rookie they've been mistreating actually holds all the power. A work stoppage creates financial disaster for everybody else. But player 22 will keep receiving enormous sneaker deal deposits while she leisurely practices her putting. This criticism isn't just exposing the players. The executives running things are being dragged into public scrutiny too. Smith emphasized the view that this leadership performs worst worldwide at handling such a crucial transformation. The explanation is straightforward. They witnessed a destructive environment destroy the basis supporting their star attraction and stayed inactive. In literally every other business everywhere, you create protection around your main moneymaker. When one individual produces 80% of the revenue, you make their happiness, safety, and satisfaction top concerns. Instead, the management stayed quiet, letting bitter resentment grow uncontrollably and failing to intervene when the negativity turned toxic. As a result, they're facing a labor conflict while their biggest talent moves increasingly distant from the organization's center. We're observing a disastrous breakdown of leadership responsibility. If operations halt due to a labor dispute, those leaders will need to explain to the NBA bosses how they fumbled a fortune simply because they couldn't find the courage to control the experienced players. The final statement from Stephen A. held an ominous heaviness, sending a warning shot straight at the industry's foundation. He warned that we're approaching a breaking point where silent discontent becomes a lasting departure. If the union pushes this and facilities shut down, don't anticipate the sensation being the one suffering or begging for a settlement. She has a position ready for her in the broadcast studio. Or she could travel internationally for million-dollar opportunities or build her business independently. A complete separation from the league is possible if the hostility continues. The players initiated a risky confrontation with ownership by terminating the agreement, thinking they were controlling something unstoppable. But they forgot that the engine driving the star player, Caitlin Clark, has an emergency exit option, and she just placed her finger near the button by rejecting the unrivaled offer. Understanding the massive scope of this disaster means reviewing the timeline of hostility that led us here. This wasn't sudden. Their goals sound good on paper, but choosing this exact moment shows they think they're at their strongest point ever. They're scared that waiting means losing attention and seeing viewership stop growing. The ironic part, as Stephen A. points out, is that creating drama and talking about canceling the season will definitely kill the excitement they're worried about losing. The new fans who just showed up to watch Clark play won't stick around if the league shuts everything down. If the 2026 season gets canceled because of greedy negotiations, casual viewers will switch back to watching basketball or football, and they probably won't come back. The union is playing with fire while standing inside a house made of matches. Stephen A. Smith has also talked about the race issues and media attention that's making this situation worse. He's been vocal about how Clark gets way more headlines than superstars like A'ja Wilson. While he acknowledges race affects how players get marketed, he says money talks louder than anything else. You push whoever brings in viewers. The NBA put Larry Bird and Magic Johnson everywhere to save a failing league, and they didn't worry about hurting anyone's feelings. Their only focus was survival. Smith says the WNBA is living through its own Magic and Bird era. But the players act like a group where everyone demands equal attention no matter who actually sells tickets. This everyone deserves fame equally attitude is causing the problem. Clark fills opponent arenas completely. The Fever had bigger audiences than the two-time champions, the Las Vegas Aces. Those are just facts. When the players' union ignores reality while chasing fairness, they upset the business sponsors who fund their salary increases. We saw Caitlin Clark looking completely exhausted by season end. It wasn't just physical tiredness. Her energy seemed crushed. The constant attention, teammates having their words analyzed, every expression being studied. It takes a serious toll. Stephen A. thinks her stepping back is strategic self-preservation. She sees the coming conflict. She notices the union preparing for a contract fight and decides to get away from the chaos, choosing to play golf and unwind with her girlfriend and family in Iowa. She's clearing her mind of the toxicity inside the WNBA culture. This creates serious danger for the league. If she realizes being happy beats professional stress, the chance of her quitting becomes genuinely real. We've seen superstars retire early previously. Think about Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, or Andrew Luck. If conditions turn toxic enough, no paycheck will keep them around. And remember, Clark already has money. Let's revisit that killing the golden goose comparison because it totally captures this mess. The WNBA is acting like the farmer. They have a magical animal that lays pure gold eggs. Rather than caring for this treasure, building a comfortable home and keeping it happy so output grows, they're complaining that the special bird gets more attention than regular chickens. They're attacking the breadwinner and now threatening to destroy the entire farm. They're using the collective bargaining agreement as a weapon to demand premium treatment for the flock. Stephen A. Smith is basically screaming that this strategy will bankrupt everyone. If the goose leaves, the wealth disappears too. The broadcasting companies like ESPN, ION, and ABC signed those huge deals mostly betting on Clark's potential. If she quits or the league cancels games, those channels will use emergency contract exits to stop payments. The profit distribution the players want will disappear. There's also interesting talk about tension between union leaders and player managers. Word is that many agents are getting frustrated. They know that rising water lifts all boats. Clark's influence brought endorsement deals for other players. Her presence got the private planes that had been fought over for 25 years. In one rookie season, Clark delivered what the union couldn't achieve in decades. But instead of appreciation, the general feeling has been, "We waited forever," immediately followed by, "Now we want more." Stephen mentions that appreciation is hard to find nowadays. The experienced players think they suffered so Clark could succeed, and they're bitter that she avoided the struggle, but that's just how progress works. The pioneers face difficulties so the next generation can thrive. The older players are angry at timing. But they're aiming that anger at a 22-year-old woman from the Midwest. What happens next? That's the million-dollar question. The contract deadline will loom like dark clouds over next season. Every game and conversation will be shadowed by the threat of a strike. Stephen A. predicts that journalists will attack the union if games get canceled. Public sentiment has already sided with Clark. The ratings prove it. The sales numbers prove it. If the WNBA tries portraying themselves as victims while demanding millions, the public sympathy will be completely gone. This becomes worse if the narrative shifts to them, forcing the sport's biggest star to leave. Clark having that unrivaled choice is the final power move. She's shown she can control headlines without touching a basketball for months. But seriously, could any of her teammates accomplish that same feat? If the whole league stops, do those other players have primetime State Farm commercials playing during the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. They need the games to matter, while Clark owns the spotlight wherever she is, and we haven't even mentioned the massive impact she's creating globally. Rumors are already flying about European teams rushing to assemble some truly insane contract offers. We're discussing payments for a few exhibition games that would make regular league salaries look like spare change. If a shutdown happens, she could just fly overseas for an international celebration tour. Just imagine the spectacle of a Clark global journey with packed venues chanting her name from London and Paris over to Tokyo and Shanghai. She could earn more money in a single 30-day trip than the whole league's salary limit combined. The Players Association is spiraling, totally unaware that the global marketplace gives her a safety net. She absolutely doesn't need this league to play basketball. Competing here is simply the easiest choice currently, but pressure her excessively and she has both the passport and the fame to excel anywhere else worldwide. Even Stephen A. revealed a significant hint about this, explaining that she has transformed from a national player into a legitimate global superstar. Now we need to circle back to that rejection of the unrivaled league because the rumors about that choice are incredibly juicy. Founders Stewart and Collier tried to downplay it, saying their team was complete.